In the cutthroat world of Hollywood, one name once shone brighter than all the rest: Brendan Fraser. From the jungles of George of the Jungle to the deserts of The Mummy, he was the king of the box office. His charm was infectious, his smile could light up a room, and his action-packed performances left us on the edge of our seats. He wasn't just an actor, he was an icon, a symbol of 90s and early 2000s adventure and fun. But then, almost overnight, he vanished. The spotlight dimmed, the phone calls stopped, and the man who was everywhere was suddenly nowhere. What happened? Where did he go? This is the story of how they tried to break him, and how his comeback became one of the most legendary tales Hollywood has ever seen. Brendan's journey to stardom started in the early 90s. With roles in films like Encino Man and School Ties, he quickly established himself as a versatile and charismatic leading man. He had this unique blend of goofy, comedic timing and genuine, heartfelt sincerity. But it was 1997's George of the Jungle that catapulted him into the stratosphere. His chiseled physique and a willingness to do his own stunts made him an instant sensation. 2 years later, he cemented his status as a global superstar with The Mummy. Playing the swashbuckling adventurer Rick O'Connell, Brendan was at the absolute peak of his powers. The film was a massive hit, and its sequels only further solidified his place at the top. He was on magazine covers, talk shows, and every casting director's wishlist. Life was good. He was married, had 3 sons, and a career that seemed unstoppable. But behind the dazzling smile, a storm was gathering. The physical toll of his roles started to catch up with him. Think about it, swinging from vines, fighting mummies, running from explosions. It all looks great on screen, but it's brutal on the body. Brendan was a dedicated performer who insisted on doing many of his own stunts. He later revealed that by the time he was filming the third Mummy movie in 2008, his body was held together with tape and ice. He was in and out of hospitals for 7 years, undergoing multiple surgeries, including a laminectomy, a partial knee replacement, and even vocal cord repair. The man who was famous for his physical prowess was literally falling apart. This physical pain was compounded by immense emotional turmoil. In 2007, he and his wife divorced, leading to a difficult and highly public legal battle over alimony payments. But the most devastating blow came from an incident he kept secret for years. In 2018, Fraser bravely revealed that in 2003, at a luncheon held by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the group that runs the Golden Globes, he was allegedly assaulted by its then president, Philip Burke. The experience left him feeling humiliated, reclusive, and deeply depressed. He said it made him retreat from the public eye. He felt his career was being blacklisted. Whether it was a direct result of the incident or not, the work did dry up. The once brightest star in Hollywood was fading, consumed by physical pain, emotional trauma, and a sense of profound injustice. The years that followed were quiet. Brendan took on smaller roles, often in projects that went unnoticed. The industry that had built him up seemed to have forgotten him. He gained weight, a side effect of his injuries and depression, and the once sharp leading man became a target for cruel jokes and internet memes. It was a heartbreaking fall from grace. He disappeared from the list, focusing on his health and his family, away from the glare of the spotlight that had once been his home. Many people just assumed he'd retired, another casualty of the Hollywood machine. But they underestimated his spirit. They underestimated his resilience. Then, something amazing began to happen. The internet, which had sometimes been a source of pain, became his biggest champion. A new generation discovered his old films, and a wave of nostalgia and affection washed over social media. People started sharing Brendan Fraser appreciation posts. They remembered his kindness, his talent, and the joy his movies brought them. A movement began, a collective desire to see him back on top. The hashtag #BRENAISSANC started trending. It was a grassroots campaign fueled by pure love for an actor who had always seemed like one of the good guys. This outpouring of support reached Brendan, and it touched him deeply. In a now famous virtual meet and greet, a fan told him how much the internet was rooting for him. And Brendan, visibly moved, tipped his hat and said, "Shucks, ma'am." The world saw his vulnerability and his genuine heart, and they fell in love with him all over again. Hollywood started to take notice. Acclaimed director Darren Aronofsky was casting for his new film, The Whale, the story about a reclusive, severely obese English teacher trying to reconnect with his estranged daughter. It was a role that required immense emotional depth, vulnerability, and bravery. Aronofsky needed someone special. He saw a trailer for one of Brendan's smaller, independent films and knew he had found his lead. He cast Brendan Fraser. This wasn't a blockbuster with explosions and chases. This was a raw, intimate, and emotionally draining role that would require him to bare his soul. Brendan poured everything he had into the character of Charlie. All the pain, the isolation, the feeling of being judged and misunderstood, he channeled it all into his performance. He wore a heavy prosthetic suit, but the real weight was the emotional burden he carried on screen. When The Whale premiered at the Venice Film Festival, the response was overwhelming. As the credits rolled, the audience rose to its feet. For 6 solid minutes, they applauded. They cheered. They cried. And in the center of it all stood Brendan Fraser, weeping openly, overwhelmed by the wave of love and acceptance. The video of that standing ovation went viral, and it was a moment of pure, unadulterated triumph. It was more than just applause for a great performance. It was a celebration of his return. It was the world telling him, "We see you. We missed you. Welcome back." The journey culminated on the biggest night in Hollywood, the Academy Awards. When his name was called for Best Actor, the entire room erupted. In his acceptance speech, Brendan was emotional, gracious, and funny. He thanked his cast, his crew, his sons, and everyone who had stood by him. He spoke of being in the wilderness and needing a lifeline, which this role provided. It was the perfect ending to an unbelievable story. The man who had been broken, forgotten, and cast aside had climbed back to the very top, not by changing who he was, but by embracing his own vulnerability and talent. Brendan Fraser's comeback is more than just a Hollywood fairy tale. It's a powerful lesson in resilience, kindness, and the importance of second chances. He endured unimaginable hardship, both physically and emotionally, yet he never became bitter. He faced public scrutiny and ridicule, yet he maintained his gentle spirit. His story reminds us that it's okay to not be okay, that it's okay to step away to heal. But it also shows us that your past doesn't have to define your future. Even when it feels like everything is lost, there is always hope for a new chapter. Brendan Fraser didn't just win an Oscar. He won back his life, his career, and his voice, all on his own terms, and that is truly legendary. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more. See you next time.